I always thought of myself as someone who avoided drama. But when your partner of nearly 4 years walks into your birthday dinner with his side chick, well, let's just say you either break down or you rise up. And I wasn't about to break down in front of him. But before I get into the chaos of that night, let me set the stage. I was 28 when I met Marcus, 34. At the time, I had just gotten out of a long, messy relationship where my ex was emotionally distant and borderline manipulative. I swore to myself I'd take a break from dating. Then Marcus showed up like some kind of knight in shining armor. It was at my college roommate's wedding. I didn't know many people there, so I was awkwardly sipping wine in the corner, trying not to look like a total loner. Marcus noticed. He strolled over in this perfectly tailored suit, loosened his tie like he owned the place, and cracked a joke about how weddings are basically open-air markets for single people. I laughed so hard I nearly choked. He grabbed me a napkin, and we ended up talking the entire night. I remember thinking, wow, this guy actually listens. My ex had never been that attentive. By the end of the wedding, I gave him my number. 2 days later, he called, not texted, actually called. And from there, we were inseparable. Those early months were magical. He was funny, ambitious, the kind of guy who made everyone in the room gravitate toward him. He had this confidence that was infectious. He'd bring me coffee at work, just because. He'd leave notes on my mirror when he stayed over. He even remembered my mom's birthday and sent her flowers before I did. My friends called him the dream guy. And honestly, I believed it. We talked about the future constantly. He wanted kids, 2, maybe 3. I wanted to move into a house with a backyard. He promised me that once he got his next promotion, we'd start house hunting. I really thought he was it. My person. Of course, no relationship is perfect. Marcus had his flaws. He could be a little arrogant, sometimes dismissive when I brought up concerns. But I chalked it up to stress at work. My friends sometimes teased me that he was too smooth, that he always had an answer ready. But I took that as a sign of his confidence, not dishonesty. Looking back, I realize I ignored my gut more than once. Like the time I found a receipt in his pocket for a dinner for 2 at a fancy steakhouse. The same night he told me he worked late. He brushed it off, saying it was a client meeting, and I let it go. Or the time he accidentally left his phone at home and was unreachable for 6 hours. But when you love someone, you don't want to see the cracks. You plaster over them with excuses and keep building the picture-perfect story in your head. And by the time my 32nd birthday rolled around, I was still telling myself that Marcus was the man I was going to marry. That birthday morning, Marcus woke me up with breakfast in bed. Pancakes shaped like hearts, a single rose in a glass. He kissed me on the forehead and said, "Tonight's going to be special. I have a surprise planned." I melted. My heart actually melted. I thought he's still that guy. Maybe I've just been paranoid. Maybe everything is fine. I spent the day floating on air, calling my mom, texting my friends, getting ready for what I thought was going to be a magical night. Little did I know that dinner would shatter everything I believed about love, loyalty, and the man I thought I knew. Because when Marcus walked into that restaurant with Tanya, the side chick I didn't even know existed at the time, my world flipped upside down. But I'll get there. For now, just know this. If you ever have the misfortune of finding out your partner is cheating, there are 2 ways you can handle it. You can collapse under the weight of betrayal, or you can stand tall, bide your time, and make sure the consequences fit the crime. And trust me, I made sure Marcus regretted underestimating me. It started subtly, the way most betrayals do. At first, I thought Marcus was just busy. He had been working at a consulting firm for 2 years, and he always complained about how competitive it was. Suddenly, he was working late 3, sometimes 4 nights a week. Now, I've always been the type of girlfriend who respects space. If he said he was swamped, I'd send him encouragement texts, maybe pick up takeout for when he got home. But I started noticing that he came home later and later, sometimes past midnight, smelling faintly of cologne. Not his usual one, but something new. I remember one night in particular. It was a Wednesday, and I was curled up on the couch waiting for him, binge-watching The Office. He came in at 12:30 a.m., loosened his tie, kissed me on the forehead, and muttered, "Long day." But he had already showered. His hair was damp. His shirt was a little too crisp for someone who had supposedly been buried in spreadsheets all night. I asked lightly, "Rough project?" He gave me this quick smile. "Yeah, babe. Numbers don't add up themselves." And then he changed the subject. That was red flag number 1. The second sign was his phone. Before, Marcus used to leave his phone lying around everywhere, kitchen counter, coffee table, even the bathroom. He never cared if I glanced at his notifications. But now, that phone was glued to his hand like a third limb. He started locking it with a passcode, then a fingerprint, then facial recognition. If I so much as reached for it to check the time, he'd swoop in like I was trying to steal government secrets. One evening, while we were watching a movie, his phone buzzed on the armrest between us. I glanced at it instinctively, only to see him snatch it up so fast you'd think it was about to self-destruct. "Work," he said quickly, locking the screen again. Something in my chest tightened. The moment my suspicions solidified was one Saturday. Marcus told me he was going to play basketball with his buddies at the community court, a routine he had kept since college. Normally, I wouldn't think twice. But that morning, his story felt rehearsed. I don't know how to explain it. Just a gut feeling. So I decided to drive past the court, telling myself I was just being paranoid. But he wasn't there. Instead, I spotted his car parked outside this cute little Italian cafe across town. My heart hammered as I pulled over, telling myself maybe he was grabbing food. But then I saw them, Marcus and a woman sitting outside laughing. She was beautiful. Long hair, perfect nails, the kind of woman who looks like she steps out of a salon every morning. She leaned in close, touched his arm, and he looked at her the way he used to look at me. My breath caught in my throat. I couldn't confront him. I couldn't even move. I just sat there gripping the steering wheel until my knuckles turned white. Then I drove home, parked in my driveway, and cried. Ugly, choking sobs that left my face swollen for hours. But even then, I tried to convince myself I was overreacting. Maybe she's a coworker. Maybe it's innocent. I wanted so badly to believe that. The final nail in the coffin came 2 weeks later. Marcus was in the shower, and he had left his phone charging on the nightstand. Normally, I would never invade someone's privacy like that. But after weeks of gnawing doubts, I needed answers. My hands shook as I unlocked it with his birthday. He must have forgotten to change it. There they were. Dozens of texts from Tanya. Can't wait to see you tonight. Wear that shirt I like. Last night was amazing. You're amazing. She doesn't suspect anything, right? Don't let her find out. Each message was a dagger. I scrolled until I couldn't anymore, my chest hollow, my vision blurry with tears. When Marcus came out of the shower, towel around his waist, I forced a smile. My heart screamed at me to scream at him, but instead I said, "Dinner's ready." Because in that moment I realized something important. If I confronted him right then, he'd deny it. He'd gaslight me, twist my emotions, make me feel like I was crazy. No, if he was going to betray me, I wasn't going to give him the satisfaction of an easy escape. I was going to wait, watch, collect evidence. And then I'd burn his perfect little facade to the ground. I woke up that morning with butterflies in my stomach. Despite all the doubts swirling in my head, I told myself maybe, just maybe, Marcus was going to prove me wrong. Maybe the distance, the late nights, the new cologne, maybe all of it had been me overthinking. After all, he had planned this big dinner for me. He'd made reservations at one of the nicest restaurants in town, invited friends, even hinted that he had a special surprise waiting. My heart wanted so badly to believe in the version of Marcus I fell in love with, not the version my gut had been warning me about. So I put on my favorite navy blue dress, the one Marcus always said made me look dangerous in the best way. I curled my hair, painted my lips red, and stared at myself in the mirror, whispering, "Tonight is going to be perfect." Oh, if only I knew. The restaurant was one of those upscale places where the waiters wear crisp white shirts, and the lighting is just dim enough to feel intimate. A long table had been reserved near the back. When I walked in, some of my friends were already there. My best friend, Janelle, a couple of Marcus's buddies from work, and even my sister. "Happy birthday," they cheered as I walked in. I grinned, genuinely touched. For a moment, I felt like the luckiest girl in the world. I hugged everyone, accepted compliments on my dress, and sat down at the head of the table. Marcus wasn't there yet, which wasn't unusual. He loved to make an entrance. "Where's the birthday boy toy?" Janelle teased, sipping her wine. I laughed. You know him. Always fashionably late. But then I heard the sound of footsteps. And laughter. And that's when my world shattered. Marcus strolled into the restaurant, arm wrapped around a woman. Her. Tanya. The same woman from the cafe. It felt like all the oxygen was sucked out of the room. My smile froze on my face. My chest burned. My friends went silent, their eyes darting between me and the scene unfolding. Tanya was stunning. Perfect hair, a tight red dress that screamed confidence. She was smiling like she'd already won. Marcus, on the other hand, looked casual. Relaxed. Like this was normal. Like bringing another woman to his girlfriend's birthday dinner was just acceptable. "Everyone," Marcus announced, his voice loud and cheerful. "This is Tanya. She's a friend from work. I thought it'd be nice to have her join us." Friend. Friend. I wanted to scream. I wanted to flip the table and throw my wine in his smug face. But instead I smiled. A smile so wide it almost hurt. "Hi, Tanya," I said, my voice calm, smooth, even though my insides were twisting. "So nice of you to come." Tanya smirked, sliding into the seat right next to Marcus. "Thanks for having me. Marcus has told me so much about you." My nails dug into my palms under the table. The tension was thick. My friends exchanged confused glances. My sister raised an eyebrow so high it nearly disappeared into her hairline. Janelle leaned over and whispered, "What the actual hell?" But I kept my composure. I laughed when someone made a joke. I clinked glasses when the waiter poured champagne. On the outside, I was the perfect birthday girl. On the inside, I was dying. Marcus seemed almost relieved. Like my calmness reassured him that he'd gotten away with it. He kept leaning into Tanya, whispering things that made her giggle. Every sound of her laughter felt like nails dragging across my skin. At one point, Tanya leaned over me, her perfume invading my space, and said, "This place is gorgeous. Marcus told me it's one of your favorites." I smiled back, my voice steady. "Yes, it is. He usually brings me here when he's trying to make up for something." Marcus choked on his drink. Tanya blinked. My friends snorted quietly, hiding their laughter behind napkins. Inside, I was screaming, "Do you think I'm stupid, Marcus? Do you really think I don't see what's happening right in front of me?" When the cake arrived, chocolate, my favorite, the waiter brought it out with sparklers while everyone sang. I made a wish, blew out the candles, and as the smoke curled upward, my only thought was, I wish for strength. Strength to not break down right here. Strength to wait for the right moment. When I cut the cake, I made sure Marcus and Tanya got the smallest, sloppiest slices. Petty, yes, but it was the only little victory I could allow myself that night. After dinner, as everyone hugged me goodbye, Janelle squeezed my hand hard and whispered, "Say the word, and I'll ruin him right now." I shook my head. "Not yet," I whispered back. "I've got something better planned." Because that night, sitting at my own birthday dinner, while my boyfriend openly flaunted his side chick, I realized something. Marcus thought he had broken me, but all he had done was give me the perfect stage. And I was going to use it. After the disaster of my birthday dinner, I spent 2 weeks walking around in a daze. Every time I replayed Marcus walking in with Tanya, I felt the same sharp stab in my chest. I couldn't believe I had spent almost 4 years loving a man who thought so little of me. But here's the thing, I didn't want to cry anymore. I didn't want to waste my energy screaming at him or begging for answers he'd never give honestly. I wanted him to feel what I felt. Humiliation, shock, betrayal, and most importantly, I wanted him exposed. Before I did anything, I protected myself. Our apartment lease, utilities, and most of the bills were in my name because Marcus had moved into my place. That meant I had the legal upper hand. So while Marcus was busy working late, I quietly moved the things that mattered to me, clothes, keepsakes, important documents, over to my sister's place. I didn't want to give him the chance to damage or hold my stuff hostage when things blew up. Next, I checked our joint finances. Thankfully, I had always kept most of my money separate, but I closed our shared savings account and transferred my half out. If Marcus wanted to play dirty, I wasn't going to give him the ammo. I already had screenshots of the texts between him and Tanya. I also had the video from the birthday dinner that my friend Janelle had sneakily taken on her phone, Tanya draping herself all over Marcus, Marcus whispering in her ear, the whole disgusting show. And just in case, I scrolled through his phone again one night while he was showering. More messages. More proof. Enough to convince anyone. I knew Marcus wouldn't expect me to act quickly. He probably thought I'd cry, stew in silence, maybe confront him months later when I'd finally caught him. He underestimated me. So I decided to plan a belated birthday party at our apartment. I pitched it as a casual get-together for friends who couldn't make the dinner. Marcus was thrilled, probably thinking it was proof that I wasn't suspicious. Little did he know, I was building his stage of destruction. I invited everyone, our friends, his co-workers, even his sister, who had always been blunt about her low tolerance for BS. I made sure the guest list was stacked with people whose opinions Marcus cared about. The night of the party, everything looked normal. Music was playing, people were drinking and chatting, the apartment was buzzing with laughter. Marcus played the perfect boyfriend, his arms slung around my waist, kissing my cheek, introducing me to co-workers like nothing was wrong. If you didn't know better, you'd think we were the golden couple. But I knew better. And so did my laptop, sitting discreetly connected to the TV. Halfway through the evening, I clinked my glass for attention. "Thank you all for coming," I said with my brightest smile. "I just wanted to share something special with you all. A little slideshow of memories from this past year." Everyone clapped politely. Marcus squeezed my hand, grinning like he was proud of me. The slideshow started with sweet photos, us at the beach, Christmas with my family, goofy selfies. The room filled with ahs and chuckles. Marcus beamed. Tanya wasn't there, of course, but oh, her presence was about to be felt. Then the images shifted. Screenshots of texts appeared on the big screen. "Can't wait to see you tonight, baby. Last night was amazing. Don't let her find out." The room went dead silent. Marcus's smile faltered. He glanced at me, panic creeping into his eyes. I kept my face calm, almost serene. Next came the video clip, Tanya hanging off his arm at my birthday dinner. The audio was faint, but you could clearly hear her giggling and Marcus whispering, "She has no clue." Gasps rippled through the room. I turned to face everyone, my voice steady but strong. "This," I said, gesturing at the screen, "is the man I've been with for 4 years. The man who told me he loved me. The man who brought his side chick to my birthday dinner." Whispers spread through the crowd. His sister muttered loudly, "You've got to be kidding me." Marcus shot up from his seat, face flushed. "This isn't what it looks like." "Really?" I cut him off, my tone razor sharp. "Because to me it looks exactly like what it is. Cheating. Lying. Humiliating me in front of everyone I love." He stammered, "Babe, please, we can talk about this privately." "No," I snapped. "You made it public when you paraded her into my birthday dinner. So now you get to be exposed publicly too." Gasps. Nods. A couple of his co-workers actually looked disgusted. I walked to the door, picked up the overnight bag I had packed earlier, and slung it over my shoulder. "Oh, one more thing," I said, my voice sugar-sweet. "This apartment? Lease is in my name. I'll be changing the locks tomorrow. You can find somewhere else to stay." The room erupted. Some people clapped. His sister flat out laughed. Marcus just stood there, pale, sputtering like a fish out of water. And with that I walked out. My friends followed, cheering me on, while Marcus's perfect little world crumbled behind me. Walking down the hall that night, my heels clicking against the floor, my bag over my shoulder, I felt lighter than I had in years. For the first time since this nightmare began, I wasn't the victim anymore. I was the one in control. The night of my birthday dinner ended with Marcus storming out, Tanya trailing after him, and my friends and family buzzing like shaken bees around me. My phone vibrated nonstop that night. Half angry texts from Marcus, half desperate apologies. But I didn't respond. Not that night. Not the next day. Not the week after. Marcus tried every tactic in the book. First, anger. "How dare you humiliate me like that in front of everyone? Do you have any idea how that makes me look?" Then gaslighting. "It wasn't what it looked like. Tanya's just a friend. You overreacted." Then begging. "I love you. Please, we can fix this. Don't throw everything away over one mistake." And finally, guilt-tripping. "You're really going to destroy our relationship over this? After everything I've done for you?" Every message I read made me feel lighter. For once, I wasn't the one doubting myself. I wasn't the one carrying guilt or confusion. The truth was right there in his words. He wasn't sorry for cheating. He was sorry for being caught. Then came Tanya. Oh, Tanya. She found me on Instagram and sent me a DM that was half rant, half bizarre pep talk. "You think you're clever humiliating me like that? Please. He doesn't even want you. He told me you were boring. He told me I was the one he wanted all along." I stared at her words, stunned at how confidently she was clinging to scraps. It almost made me pity her. Almost. Instead of replying, I screenshot her message, posted it to my close friend's story with the caption, "Sis, if you have to fight this hard to convince yourself he loves you, maybe he doesn't." Petty. Maybe. But satisfying? Oh, absolutely. My friends, bless their souls, rallied around me like an army. Samantha and Rachel came over the day after with wine, ice cream, and a stack of rom-coms. "You know what?" Samantha said, halfway through Legally Blonde. "You should be proud of yourself. Most people would have screamed or thrown drinks. You stood up, smiled, and roasted him so hard he won't recover for years." Rachel chimed in, "Girl, you basically gave him the social death penalty. That's better than any revenge I could have thought of." And maybe they were right. For the first time in months, I felt like I had the power back in my hands. The official breakup was anticlimactic. Marcus showed up at my apartment a week later, carrying a bouquet of roses that I refused to touch. I don't understand why you're doing this, he said, standing awkwardly in my doorway. His eyes darted everywhere but at me. I crossed my arms. Marcus, you cheated on me. You lied to me. And then you had the audacity to bring your side chick to my birthday dinner. What part of that don't you understand? He opened his mouth, closed it, then sighed. I made a mistake. No, I corrected him. You made a choice. Over and over again. And now I'm making mine. And with that, I shut the door. The weeks that followed were messy. I'd love to say I felt instantly free, but the truth is, heartbreak is still heartbreak. Even when you know you're better off. There were nights when I lay awake replaying every moment of our relationship, wondering if I had missed signs, wondering if I wasn't enough. But then I'd remember the way he looked at Tanya across that cafe table, or the smug smile he wore when he thought he'd pulled the wool over my eyes. And suddenly, the sadness turned to resolve. I started going to therapy, not because I was broken, but because I wanted to understand why I ignored my instincts for so long. My therapist helped me see that my need to keep the peace had made me blind to my own needs. I promised myself I would never again sacrifice my self-worth for someone else's comfort. Months later, I ran into a mutual friend who told me Marcus and Tanya didn't last. Apparently, Marcus couldn't keep his wandering eyes in check, and Tanya dumped him after catching him texting someone else. The irony was delicious. But the best part? He had been blacklisted at work too. Word about the birthday dinner incident had spread. Our city is smaller than you think, and suddenly clients and co-workers saw him differently. He was the guy who humiliated his girlfriend in public. The guy who couldn't keep it together. And just like that, Mr. Charming lost his shine. 6 months later, on my next birthday, my friends threw me a huge surprise party. No boyfriends, no drama, just laughter, music, and the people who truly loved me. At one point, Samantha raised her glass and said, "To the queen who turned betrayal into the most iconic revenge dinner we've ever witnessed." Everyone cheered, and for the first time in a long time, I felt pure joy. I had survived the storm. I had come out stronger. And I realized something important. Revenge isn't about destroying the other person. It's about reclaiming yourself. Looking back now, I don't regret how it happened. Sure, it hurt. Sure, it scarred me. But it also reminded me of my own strength. Marcus wanted to make me small, to reduce me to a paranoid girlfriend, to humiliate me quietly in the shadows while he lived double lives. But instead, I flipped the script. He wanted me to be invisible. I made sure everyone saw him for who he really was. Time has a way of softening sharp edges. What once felt like jagged glass lodged in my chest is now a scar. Still there, but no longer bleeding. It's been almost a year since that infamous birthday dinner, and if you'd told me then that I'd come out of this stronger, happier, and freer than ever, I would have laughed bitterly. But here I am. After Marcus and I broke up, I went to contact. Blocked his number, unfollowed him on socials, even told mutual friends not to give me updates. It wasn't easy. There were days I wanted to stalk his Instagram, to see if Tanya was still in the picture, to check if he looked miserable without me. But I resisted because I realized something important. Revenge wasn't about keeping score. I had already won the moment I stood up at that dinner and reclaimed my dignity. The rest was just noise. Besides, my revenge wasn't just about exposing him. It was about teaching myself a lesson too. I would no longer ignore my own instincts, no longer settle for half-truths, no longer sacrifice my peace to make someone else comfortable. After the breakup, I poured energy back into myself. I started journaling daily, not just about the pain but also about the little joys. Morning coffee, sunsets from my balcony, inside jokes with friends. Slowly, those joys grew louder than the hurt. I picked up yoga, something I'd always wanted to try but never had time for because Marcus always controlled our schedules. Turns out I love it. I love moving my body in ways that feel grounding. I love the silence, the breath, the calm. I traveled too. Took a solo trip to Seattle, walked through Pike Place Market with a latte in hand, watched the ferries come and go, and thought, this is what freedom feels like. Funny enough, my story ended up inspiring people around me. Rachel confided that she finally left her toxic boyfriend after years of excuses. Samantha told me she started setting boundaries at work because she saw me stand up for myself. Even my younger cousin, just 17, told me, I want to be like you. You didn't let him break you. It made me realize that my revenge didn't just serve me. It created a ripple of empowerment. The sweetest part of this whole saga? Living well. While Marcus scrambled to repair his reputation and Tanya disappeared from the picture, I was thriving. My career was taking off. I had more free time, more peace, and more confidence than ever before. One evening, I bumped into Marcus at a grocery store. He looked tired, unshaven, weighed down by something I couldn't see. He froze when he saw me, as if half expecting me to lash out. But I didn't. I smiled politely, said hi, and walked away. That was the moment I knew I'd truly won. Because while he was still trapped in his cycle of lies, I had moved on. My revenge wasn't about destroying him anymore. It was about outgrowing him. On my most recent birthday, my friends surprised me again. No drama this time. Just good food, good wine, and the people who loved me. At one point, Rachel raised her glass and said, "To the woman who taught us all that the best revenge is knowing your worth." We clinked glasses, and I felt a warmth in my chest that had nothing to do with alcohol. It was the warmth of self-respect, of freedom, of joy I had built for myself. If you're reading this and you've ever been betrayed, let me tell you this: you are not crazy. You are not unworthy. You are not broken. Cheaters cheat because of their own emptiness, not because of your shortcomings. And sometimes the best revenge isn't screaming or plotting or even exposing them. It's standing tall, keeping your dignity, and showing the world and yourself that you deserve so much more. Marcus thought he'd ruin my birthday. Instead, he gave me the greatest gift of all, the push I needed to finally see my own strength. And that, I think, is the best revenge story I could ever tell.